artists who are not here to register in the mind, who are here to touch the hearts of people.
Coco.
Karen.
Hello, Jack. Dumelang lena abusheni ka lena ke nna Shibuwa ga molomo ho tswa Mahuma Group Get Down Productions ga mmogo le Matume Rapetsa Foundation lena mamohlare ka motseng wa ga borena wa le boa kgomo re go botsa a o tonye ebile a go fishi o bethana moyanyana o mongwe a shiwa mosesane mara ke a futshisha re why o na le moya o mosesane go bana mamohlare tlo bona ke re sebata lena re ka mo makotse lena Max Legendary Center a re English lena go bana mamohla e tla ba interview ke mangina ke Darren van Rensburg area wena o iponela ka ga mahlo. Wow, this place is beautiful. Coco.
Oh.
Hi everyone.
Hello. Rolling in 3, 2, 1, action.
Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters from South Africa and across the world, welcome to another great episode of the RAPETSOA Legacy Extravaganza. I'm your host, Darren van Rensburg, and yes, we about to go into it right more, where we celebrate a legend, a doyen of township theatre. Kerayena Mr. Mahuma Brapol. Babangwene bare Raholo Brapol Rapetswa. We're going straight into it, ladies and gentlemen, and today on the show, we have a legend of note, a radio genius. Every single thing you thought could not be done in radio, this gentleman probably did it, and he did it amazingly. Who would I be talking about if I was not talking about the one and only Kerayena Mr. Max Mojapelo? How are you, sir?
I'm fine, my brother. How are you?
Lovely. Sir, I'm actually very excited to go into this with you because I know not only are you an artist, but you are also an intellectual, sir.
It is so true, and I feel honored to be here, to be talking about my friend, my colleague. We called each other big boy.
Yes.
I'll go into that later.
Indeed.
But what was very interesting, what we had in common, when he was doing his presentations, he would say, yeah. And I would say, yo. So we just had that kind of vibe together, and that's why we called each other big boy.
Indeed. But let's go into it because I can't wait to ask these questions. Can you please tell me, when was the first time you heard the name Mahuma Paul Rapetswa?
The first time I heard this name, it was when I was a teacher.
Yes.
But also, I was involved with showbiz in Soweto. My uncle had a band there. So around that time, I think it's between 79, 81, somewhere there, Paul had this connection with the GK Productions, Gibson Kent.
Indeed.
That is when I heard about him. And around that time, he also wrote a stage theater called Circumstances.
Indeed.
But I had never met him. And the next thing, I saw him on the screen. He was acting in a drama called Die Million tša Griri.
Hey.
That is when I saw him for the first time. And that is when I read about him, because Gibson Kent's dramas were always in the media, maybe the World and stuff like that, in newspapers of that time. That is how I came to know about Paul RAPETSOA.
Lovely. And I bet we can both agree that Bra Paul was a very charismatic individual. How was the first time when you guys actually met? Because you're a charismatic person as well. So I'm just taking myself back to the first time you met face to face. Can you take us back there?
Yeah, it was just magic. Because when I met Paul, I joined the SABC in 1982. December. Now, when he joined in 1983, it was almost that we joined, almost like we joined the same time. And I remember when we first met, we started calling each other cousins, because my aunt, RAPETSOA Ube anyetswe ga RAPETSOA ke Mare Cliff RAPETSOA. So we started calling each other Mzala. And it was just good. And from there, we were very passionate at what we were doing. I remember I asked him whether he would like to be confined to drama only, because I understand radio to be theater of the mind. Indeed, he always said that himself. Yes, and I asked him, don't you want to do 1 or 2 programs on air? And he said, no, that's fine. And that's how, when we started planning our programs, he was given a program, which was my brainchild, of course. Indeed. We were sitting in that meeting. Sorry, but can you please just tell us what that brainchild is? I love how you said it earlier on. Can you just tell me what your brainchild was, where you started with Bra Paul? The brainchild was a program called Fola Moya Waka. And Paul, being the creative person, we were in a meeting and they were asking questions. The station manager at that time was the deputy Asbotoma. He said, but that program, what would the name be? And people were saying this and that, saying this. And I said, Fola Moya Waka.
Manager never eliminated Lemmer, Pete Lemmer. And about RAPETSOA, Karukono Klinkaka Kanyu Yaore, Lenano Libiana, Haibuena, Utale Toma, for just for 3 months. After 3 months, I telephone Marcaro when Kusha He only Duma or Little House. Karahagan Tat. Bargili really up what at Lina. Nina Lata, the Kakano Papa Bombari, me wait, young Bombari Gospel, what, Legendary Max Mojapelo, Ara level big boy, big boy. The Nana Ole was a little coming out, a Karakava Fola Maya work. That's it. But right. It was for Sontas as a tongue, Keswan to go to home. And I could see my Adikosha, cannot what Kosha the ring. Hakitsanaka library, what's like a library. I could go compile. The first song, the William Brothers, I'm just a nobody. I'll never forget.
I'm just a nobody, trying to tell everybody about somebody who can save anybody.
I'm just a nobody, trying to tell everybody about somebody who can save anybody. Well, I can see what Nakoshe would say Takama. Kidor Ekitaka or Antomar Kitangalani. Abraka Guala Braga Tagar, Munatangalan. Kiakoshem were ke batla molodi a rena wa Paul computer na ntlo jere tšweng o di bolela lo jaka ga ina molodi ke re ai ka eno tse go bona Google o tla Google ka nyekisha ka ba ka iketša ka re I'm just a nobody ya Brookbank 10 look at your hand. Do they stand for peace or do they stand for war? Look at your hands. That was my second song. Ya boraro ya ba hold on at the mighty class of joy. O tsa ka 1986 ka April. Ke ke thumaledana ole. Just hold on, the Lord will see you through. Oh, the mighty clouds of joy. Motheletšwe, nako ye re phelang go yona ke nako ye mpe. Program ela gadi go di bolela ntse like I'm saying e mo go nna. Ka gore ke be ke re can I say this? Gore ga ona le tšatši le le for all those years. Mo ke ileng ka ga tša fola mayoga e seng ke boithapelo. Be ke ipotša ra seaka. Because the way e khwatha maikutlo a batho ke be ke iputsa ra ba khwatha ke Paul Rapetso modimo shumishana go khwatha fele ke before ke studio ke lo tsena ka mola ke lo modimo nthushe le nana o le drive na sena motho di wa lona ke rana ke ta di bolela malaedi di amlo mo ga tjo khadi go do fala
Be still, my soul.
Indeed.
The original idea, when I conceptualized this, was that over the weekend, people indulge in many things. But come Sunday, we must prepare the nation spiritually for the week that is about to start. So, whatever happened on Saturday,
indeed,
forget about it.
Yes.
That is how we started doing it. And the rest is history.
Indeed. Definitely.
And
how many years have you worked with Bra Paul, and how was it working with Bra Paul? Was it hard? Was it easy?
Before I get to that, maybe I should mention that we had so much in common. The two of us grew up in small villages. He at a breeder. He was a son of a policeman.
Indeed.
I was a son of a policeman.
Oh.
I grew up at a small village called Matume. But because Big Boy is a Mutogwa, he couldn't say Matume. He said Ramatume. Because to the Mutogwa people, Matume is a name of a person.
Indeed.
And he would then talk about his upbringing ko breeder. Habo nyokota. Mwedi ngwara makopo. And I would tell him about Matume. Habo tsotso abaye lore mwedi ngwara mukhubo. So we shared all these things, and the way he loved his language, he was very jealous of his Sitogwa. He taught me things like, if a car is beautiful, barkichachalala. Yeah, and when he talked about the kitchen, he would say Kastagene. Yeah, so he was very proud of his Sitogwa. And most of the things I came to know without him telling me was from his homeboys when he then later moved to Mukopane. One guy who would tell me a lot about Paul, especially when I became their leader, was Elekotswana Mukonyane, who was working with him in the drama department as well. And Alf Lekalakala, who traveled a very long journey with Paul in drama.
Very true.
Yeah, so that's how I came to know him. But working with him, Big Boy was a very creative person. I remember the SABC would come up with an educational drama, and I would go with him to Auckland Park, and they brief us about that. All the radio stations would be briefed on the radio, the educational drama. But believe you me, when we come back here, what Paul would put on air would be very different from any other.
Yes.
And I say, how do you do this? He says, no, you see, when I was at GK Productions,
Yes.
Gibson Kente would say, we would listen to something and we say it's beautiful, and he would say, no, kodwa ena lento.
Mm.
So Paul would take a simple educational drama and put lento into it.
Indeed.
I remember when we had a drama on AIDS, when AIDS was just becoming a problem in this country.
Yes.
Paul then would introduce a character, call him Shaba Shaba. This guy would go around with condoms in his pockets. And sometimes he would have a plastic bag. When he finds many people enjoying themselves, say, Liseri, Shaba Shaba. Liseri, Shaba Shaba. Showing them condoms.
Indeed.
So it became a very interesting character.
Lento. Yes.
And
yes.
he himself wrote some drama serials like Oreha. You know?
Yes.
He wrote quite a number. And it was very good because in a way he was able to train and coach future writers. You know? He loved his work. But we had so much in common because I didn't like to call people by their names. I love to give people pet names. Paul liked that as well.
Indeed.
He worked with a guy called Steve Ralan, who was a master behind the desk,
Yes.
a sound engineer.
Yes.
He wouldn't call him Steve Ralan, he called him Gali.
Gali.
And later there was another one, Klas Mashilu. Big Boy would call him Klas Mesh. So that kind of thing. And they also had another one, Nyakuma Senya. Big Boy loved the name I gave to Nyaku. I called him Nyagalaza. So that kind of thing. So we had that vibe together.
That's beautiful.
And how we came to call each other Big Boy. Paul won an artist. Artists were the SABC awards.
Yes.
And as a result, the SABC sent him to Italy to go and represent the SABC there in a competition called Pre-Italia. And he came back. Later, I was sent there because I was also winning awards.
Indeed.
And when I came back, he said to me, Big Boy, are you back? I said, yes, the boys are back in town and the town is shaking. It was taken from a song by an Irish band called Thin Lizzy.
Thin Lizzy, yes.
Yeah, the song is called The Boys Are Back in Town. So people couldn't understand when we meet on the passage. I would just say, the boys are back in town. And he would say, it's shaking.
I said, the boys are back in town. 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 The boys are back in town.
You know, those kind of things. You know?
Very true, sir.
And the other thing that people should know about Paul,
Indeed.
he has produced so many actors
He has.
who ended up graduating into radio presenters, TV actors. I'm talking here about people like Augustine Shotole, Levu Madira, Mankuku Mkari. Those are from his school. Before it was called Prida, it was called Action School of Drama.
Action School of Drama.
Yeah,
Wow.
they are from there.
Wow. That is beautiful.
Yes, and because he lived drama, and people loved Trouble FM for drama, I sat down with him and said, Big Boy, where can't we take your drama and adopt it as a radio station? And then have a road show and encourage and motivate matric students to read. Paul being Paul immediately wrote something called Get Down.
Indeed.
Not here.
Yes.
Yeah. In other words, you must get down. If you are lazy, you don't belong here. Yes. So the station during my time adopted Get Down, and would fill halls, would go to different places where our radio footprint goes. Yes.
That's beautiful, sir. But now looking at all of these different places that you've done with Bra Paul, what is one memory for you that you'd say would stand out of every single thing that you've done with Bra Paul?
Like I say, he was like a friend to me.
Indeed.
There are so many things that we shared, like what I've just told you about Big Boy.
Mm-hmm.
But most of all, we loved music. He particularly loved the music of the Mighty Clouds of Joy.
Indeed.
Brooke Benton.
Yes.
Shirley Caesar.
Yes.
Locally, he loved Joyous Celebration.
Mm-hmm.
I remember he was so happy when the Mighty Clouds of Joy came to South Africa. I booked him a vehicle.
Yes.
I said, you go there, meet them and record them. And he brought them back live.
You?
Yes.
Yeah. Anabeta Bra Paul.
Yes, now he was very energetic. But let me not forget,
Yes.
Paul disliked gossip.
We can all attest to that one.
He did not like frictions at work. And the other thing that he did not like very much was administration.
Eish.
He just wants to create.
Indeed.
He would phone me at night and say, Big Boy, I have this idea. What do you think?
Yes.
At one stage during the time of the AIDS pandemic, I wrote a documentary called Mabolaya Sera. Because what I was saying was people get AIDS while they think they're enjoying themselves. So we called it Mabolaya Sera. And the main character in there was Matume, his son.
Yes.
And he had this dream that one day he wants Mabolaya Sera to go on stage. So we shared so many things. Sometimes my wife would be surprised in the middle of the night. I'm laughing so much because we would crack jokes.
Indeed.
Yeah, so we shared so much in common.
That's lovely. Like you mentioned that Bra Paul disliked gossip.
Didn't like
with his whole heart. I want to ask you about a very funny memory that you have shared with Bra Paul. Mine, for instance, like you mentioned, he wouldn't like gossip. I would go to Bra Paul and say, Hape Bra Paul, unele mthako mongwe show barke magwaza.
Yeah.
Hape magwaza one twenya and one lapisha ke le mmereko.
Yes.
Okay, no problem. When Magwaza would walk into the auditorium, he will very happily and confidently call Magwaza.
Yeah.
Kana Darren, no ringi ka Magwaza. Yeah. Aujigele, no. Kana no ringi ka Magwaza.
Yeah.
So now you must talk about it. Yeah, that is definitely true. He disliked gossip.
It's also my experience with Paul.
Indeed.
So he didn't like gossip. He didn't like lies. All he liked was, he would joke. In fact, if you may ask me, what I have learned from Paul is to be observant. Paul loved to observe human behavior. And he'll then write drama out of that. He's sitting like this in a meeting. He's watching someone. And 1, 2, 3 is written something. I remember one time he wrote something, he called it Ngame. It was about someone who's very stingy. Yeah. Ngame. Yes.
Yeah. But what would your favorite memory be? The Ngami? Or your funniest memory, sorry.
The funniest memory of Paul?
Yes.
I would just say the funniest thing about him, when he joined the SABC, our boss was a white man called Pete Lemmer.
Pete Lemmer.
Yeah. So Pete did not know much about Paul and where he comes from. He just heard that Paul is a drama person.
Indeed.
And then he sent Paul to go and report a soccer game from a stadium. That was a problem. Paul came back without anything. It was entirely not his line.
He did nothing.
Yeah, no, he just came back and said, nah, I didn't see anything.
Yeah, Pete would never send him back there ever again.
Never, ever.
No,
Never,
that is
ever.
very true.
Yeah.
But do you, Bramex, do you look at your life and certain, like you are saying, Bra Paul was very observant. Bra Paul literally didn't like lies and gossip. But looking at yourself, do you see a little bit of Bra Paul within you today?
I think so, especially because we shared so many things. I've already mentioned observing
Yes.
behavior, human behavior. I've learned that from him. To learn to know people, but also to laugh at ourselves.
Yes.
To be able to laugh at ourselves. But on a serious note, dedication. Paul didn't matter where he was. He lived drama.
Indeed.
Everything was drama to him.
Very true.
You know, I remember one time we organized our drama and choral, because we also had a choral society for the station. So we organized this launch at Jack Buerta's hall, and I put Paul in charge of that. The way Paul loves drama, I was sitting in the office and he came running and he opened the door and I said, what's happening? He said, yeah, there is stampede there. I said, there can't be stampede while we have not yet started. He was just like that.
That's very true, sir.
But what he was saying was that the hall is packed.
Yes.
Yeah.
We are ready to go.
We are ready to roll.
No, very true.
Yeah.
I would like us to go into this specific one, sir. Do you think Mahuma Group, led by Matume RAPETSOA, which is the son of Bra Paul, like you had mentioned, do you think as Mahuma Group we are doing enough to keep the memory of Bra Paul alive?
Yes, number one, what we are doing now. This is it.
Indeed.
And secondly, the road shows that you arrange with the branding, they are promoting Bra Paul's name. And Mahuma Group gets involved into community projects. That is the legacy that Paul has left behind. To date, I don't know many other people, they'll pardon me, but I think it's me and him who understood that what we were doing was not just a job. It's a calling. That is how he took radio drama to his home in Seshego. And I took radio programs to this place.
Indeed.
So his legacy will live on and on. And I remember, like I've already said, there are many, you can call them apostles, who passed through his hands, you know?
Yes.
And he was not jealous. If you see someone is talented, even if you are not an actor, I'll give you an example. We worked with one brother of mine, Vincent Mwechana. Paul just recruited him, and later I saw him on Skim Sam.
Indeed.
As Mr. De Santos. You know, Paul had an eye for acting. It didn't matter whether you have gone through a school or what. If you had a talent, he would just assist you. Yes.
I know I didn't prepare you for this, but I wanted to ask you, looking at the entire Bra Paul, Mahuma Paul RAPETSOA, let me put it like that. What is one thing you wouldn't want us to leave here today without knowing about Bra Paul?
Bra Paul was a community leader. Because if you look at the dramas that he scripted on radio and on stage, they are all about community building, social cohesion. That is what we should not forget about him.
Indeed.
He was doing what we call edutainment. In other words, you are entertaining people and yet
Educating them. Yes.
That is what who Paul was.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's very true. Before I let you go, I want us to look at our audience over here. We can use this camera here specifically. And if you had one more thing to say to Bra Paul, what would that thing be, looking at our audience over here?
If there's anything that I would say to Bra Paul, I would say prepare a stage where you are. I'm coming there. I want to be the steering. I want to act, especially Mabulaya Sarah, big boy. Prepare it. I'm ready to act in there. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, because you did yeah, yeah, I'll do yo, yo. Kinaderi.
Kitsona.
Thank you. Kya lukisha. My leader, this is a t-shirt over here. It's a Paul RAPETSOA Legacy t-shirt from us, just to say thank you very much. I know you're going to look very stylish in this one.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, this is just a sign to say thank you very much.
Thank you, very pleased.
Yes, your time isn't taken for granted, Mr. Mojapelo. You could have been anywhere right now, but you chose to sit down with us and make sure that the legacy of Mahuma Paul RAPETSOA stays alive.
You know what thank you, very pleased means?
Yes.
Thank you, do it again.
We'll definitely do it again. Definitely, sir.
Thank you, bro.
To all of our viewers at home, what an amazing conversation this was with the one, the only, the legend himself, Kerayena, Mr. MM, Mr. Max Mojapelo. Yo, yo. I'm going to live here knowing all of these things. All of them. But yes, you guys know I'm your host, Darren Rufan Rensburg. Thanks for joining in to another great episode where we discuss the legend himself, Mahuma Paul RAPETSOA, with a friend and a colleague.
Ge o shala mishumo ya Paul RAPETSOA morago, o tla huma ke mahuma.
Kanete o tla huma ka iwe re a le tlogela batheletši seng batheletši ba bogedi ba rena. My name is Dan Rufan Rensburg, and like I always say, stay shining and stay winning, and like Bra Paul always says, thank you and I'm sorry.